Oh, baby, everybody, and we are back. Welcome back to Words with Wayman. I'm your host, as always, Matt Wayman. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got a fantastic episode for you this week. Joining me, St. Louis wrestler, Mr. Danny Adams. Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. This should be fun.
I'm excited. This is the first time, I was telling you a second ago, I was very into wrestling as a child. This is the first time I've interviewed wrestlers, so thank you so much for coming out. I just want to start off right out the gate. How did you get into wrestling?
I got into wrestling. I mean, I became a fan at a young age just because everyone in my family was big fans. My dad, my brother,
Nice.
cousins. Like, I don't remember a single point in my life where I wasn't a big wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Like, my first memories are of like, oh, Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Like, that was just, those were the household names, growing up for me. So it was always that kind of in the back of my mind. Like, I always wanted to try it, but I was never like a huge, like, great athlete or anything in high school or college or any, so I didn't really have much confidence to go try it myself.
Yeah.
But until I saw a well-known wrestler, if you follow any kind of wrestling outside of just like the WWE, his name is Michael Elgin.
Cool.
He's big over in Japan. Actually,
Nice.
is where he makes most of his money. But so he starts a wrestling school right here in St. Louis.
Is he originally from here? Or
No, he's from Canada. Actually.
Cool.
But he married another wrestler named Mischief, who's from St. Louis. He's
Hell
kind of
yeah,
a
little wrestling babies running around.
Yeah, they've got one Jax running around. He'll be a better wrestler than I am.
Yeah.
By age like 5.
Seriously, he's gonna be all jacked up.
But no, he starts this school, and I guess I just felt compelled to go, because this was a big opportunity to try it.
Yeah, so I guess for people that don't know, that you have to go to school to become a wrestler, or like a lot of people do start out going to the school before they actually start wrestling. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much training involved as far as just learning how not to kill yourself.
Yeah,
in there, because it's entertainment, but it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Entertainment. A lot of guys get hurt, and you just kind of have to learn how to do it, and how to not only how to just to actually wrestle, but how to entertain a crowd and how to talk without sounding like an idiot. And
That's so cool. It's such a cool thing because it combines so much. It combines public speaking. It combines improv because you're playing a character. It combines physicality, obviously. How long did you train before you actually got into the ring?
I went about 5 months or so before I have my first match, which was an absolute disaster. Just because a lot of times the first time when you go out for your first match, a lot of times they'll put you in like familiar with like a battle royal.
Yeah,
where you've got like 20 guys out there, and you're just going to get thrown over the top rope to the floor, and that's kind of to get your feet wet a little bit. But my first match was actually out in a promotion called IWA Mid-South in like nowhere, Indiana. And this is a place that's kind of known for a lot, kind of like your blood and guts type of wrestling, a lot of weapons and death matches, hardcore stuff. So I'm already completely scared to go because I've heard all these stories of of guys just getting absolutely destroyed.
Whoa.
And so I get put, and I'm told I'm going to be in a battle royal, and I'm like, okay, that's easy. You just kind of just go out there, you hit some guys, they hit you, and you get tossed out. And the promoter's like, oh, but this isn't any normal battle royal. This is a reverse battle royal.
What?
And exactly, everyone's like, I don't know what a reverse battle royal is. It turns out everyone's on the floor, and they have to get thrown into the ring to be eliminated. And it was absolutely confusing because obviously that's the opposite of a normal one.
Yeah, so you don't have the mat, you're just getting thrown onto the ground and stuff?
Yeah, so we're all outside and everyone's just laying into each other because you're 2 feet from the fans at that point, because when you're kind of in the ring, there's a little bit of a barrier between you and the fans, but in this case, no, you're right in front of people. So, I've got some of these guys just coming and absolutely just wearing each other out, wearing me out, and I'm just...
How old were you at that time?
21.
21, and you're fighting against guys anywhere from up to, 40 probably? 45?
Up to 50, I
really?
bet. Some of these guys...
Some grizzled vets?
Oh, certainly, and they certainly like to have their fun with the younger guys, especially when they see that you're the new guy in this sort of match. So that was an experience, kind of one of those things where, we finish up the match, and I'm absolutely just... I'm in pain. Yeah. I'm hurting, and I'm looking, and there's probably like 40 people in the crowd. It's not even like a giant event.
With kind of some of those like smaller shows?
Oh, absolutely. I've wrestled anywhere between, a couple thousand to 20.
So there's like regional shows, or there's like these little circuits that they do. I guess like so there's regional shows and then mid-tier, and then you start getting into more of like the WWE kind of like other stuff like that. How does that work out?
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's interesting because anyone can put on their own wrestling event. I mean, if you book a bingo hall somewhere and you have a ring and you contact some wrestlers to come wrestle, they can come do it. I mean, there's not a lot of red tape involved. I mean, it's kind of just like anything else.
Yeah.
You know, booking
international waters.
Yeah, booking a comedy show or booking a music concert. It's the same type of thing. It's just a promoter booking a venue, and we'll see what happens. So sometimes, you might have a really good promoter who's booked a very nice venue, and he's booked some famous names, and he's drawn 1,000 people. And then there's sometimes where you've got just some guy from nowhere, Illinois, and he's decided, I want to run a wrestling show because this seems easy. And then you go out there, and there's maybe 15 people out there, which in some of these towns might be the entire population of the town.
Yeah. And they've been drinking all day getting ready.
Certainly. And sometimes those are fun because, I mean, a lot of times when you go to big cities, people don't really care about you as much because, like, the WWE comes to St. Louis, and they come to Chicago, and they come to all these, Kansas City. But when you're out in, like, Sterling, Illinois.
Hot town.
Exactly. These people don't know, like, they don't get that kind of entertainment all the time.
Yeah, so they don't know how
you're a superstar. Like, I did this one event, and it was Brownstown, Illinois. Cool. I swear it was like a population of like 250, and each and every one of those 250 were at this like high school gym, and they're buying merchandise and they're going crazy for everything.
Awesome.
And I'm just like, sometimes you can, if you really want to be a superstar, go to these small towns because they don't get any big names coming through, and as far as they're concerned, you are the big name.
That's pretty awesome. That's fun. How do you go about, because it's pretty character driven, how do you go about creating a character that's going to be your character for a while, or do people even switch him up, or how does that work?
You kind of just have to do what works for you. Like when I started, and this is what happens when a lot of guys start, is like, well, I just want to be a badass wrestler. Yeah. And then you kind of find out that, especially at the time, I don't look like a badass wrestler. I'm not huge, and I don't have tattoos, and I'm not like what you would consider, someone you'd be afraid of walking down an alley or something. So once that wasn't working for me, obviously, I kind of switched to more. I created this character of the millennial, and he's very cocky and he's very self-assured, but he's also very sensitive, and he's easily offended by things that people say from the audience. And I think it's kind of a little microcosm of our generation,
absolutely,
if you will, the snowflake generation, as some people like to call us. So I kind of took that and kind of ran with it because in some of these small towns that are pretty conservative little places. So if I'm coming out as like the liberal millennial, sometimes it's easy to get heat from that crowd because you're the type of person that they hate.
So you kind of have to like pick your points, I guess, and just kind of see it. So I guess you travel a lot when you to perform.
Yeah, I mean anywhere. I mean a lot of times, especially when you're first starting out, you're just kind of. You kind of make friends with some veterans in your area, and they're the ones who are getting booked, in Chicago, Kansas City, Indiana. I've been up to Canada,
awesome.
Up to Ottawa. I've been to as far east as I've been to New Jersey.
Cool. So they just they're like, hey, I got this show. Do you want to come do a
absolutely.
spot on it?
And you just if there's a spot in the car, you go. And
that's rad.
Sometimes there's not even there's times where there's not even actually a spot on the event for you.
You'll just show up.
You're just going in the off chance that someone else doesn't show up, or the promoter looks kindly upon you and is like, okay, I'll make this 3-way match a 4-way match, and we're going to put you in there as well. So I mean, then eventually, you get your name out there, and you'll get contacted from places in all these other states. But for the most part, you're just kind of getting in the car and going, not really knowing much about anything. I mean, luckily, my trainer, Michael Elgin's he was very well known, and he traveled a lot. So I was able to just hop in and go to a lot of cool places. So
there's like some mentorship going on, where like people kind of take you out and show you the ropes a little bit.
Absolutely, and because there's really no other way to navigate those waters other than to have someone just kind of bring you along. It's like anything. It's like any kind of networking of any other kind of job. Like you might be the best wrestler in the world, but if nobody knows who you are, then why would they book you?
Do you have to train a lot to like just stay in shape to be able to do that? Because it seems like it's pretty punishing on the body.
Yeah, I mean, I still, even though I've been doing it for 3 years, I still do. I go to class. I to kind of show some of the even guys who are younger than me what to do, but also to kind of keep my own skill set fresh. Because like I said, I'm not an amazing athlete, so I kind of have to put in a little bit more practice than someone can do a double backflip.
Yeah. Is there new moves that people create, kind of, or is it all kind of there? Yeah.
Everything's. I mean, at this point, everything's kind of been done, but you can come up with. There's always certain ways that you can throw another human or strike them in the face. I can't imagine. I mean, it's only as far as the human imagination can go. So there's always something. Sometimes you come up with something new and think. A lot of times you come up with something new and think that it's great, and you're the first one to ever do it. And then you'll see someone else do it, and you're like, "Damn it! Someone already created that. Thought I invented that." But
do you ever do you like bleed and stuff when you do it, or is that like a choice that you make when you do it?
I kind of made the choice to kind of stay away from from the hardcore blood and guts type. I guess there's always a time and a place. Yeah. So I'm not gonna say I would never do that.
But there's like certain guys that are like he's a bleeder.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, man. Some of these,
that's a thing.
You'll look at some of these guys who just kind of wrestled that hardcore style their whole career, and like their foreheads all just like chewed up, and it's just
like that 80s mentality kind or something.
Absolutely. And those are some of the most interesting guys because they're the ones who have these like really interesting stories about back in the day or some crazy stuff they did in front of 30 people.
30 people.
Louisville, Kentucky or something where there's, not exactly a ton of notoriety to be made, but sometimes it's just like it's just a personal thing. Like,
where do you feel like the current landscape with wrestling is right now? Because it seems like there's probably a bit of resurgence coming on right now, and then you got your WWE that's really always been there, and
yeah, I mean it's something that always goes and it's cyclical. I guess you kind of had your big boom in the 80s with your Hulk Hogan, and then it kind of had a downturn in the early 90s, and then the late 90s with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and they all come about. And then it has its ups and downs, and I think we're currently kind of in the middle of an upswing. And to be honest, like whenever it's kind of a trickle down effect where like when the WWE is doing well, the independents start doing well just because there's more interest in wrestling as a whole. So, it's always, the WWE is probably, you look at how many viewers and WrestleMania gets every year, and it's comparable with like the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And when you see that kind of success that it's having, the rest of us kind of get that, residual.
Is that the goal
interest.
for everybody kind of? Is it all like just that's what I want to do WWE, or is like how do you even go for making that transition kind of?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's money to be made on the independent scene if you know how to do it, and sometimes even more money to be made, and less work, less travel and everything. Because I mean, when you're in the WWE, you're on the road 4 or 5 days a week, whereas kind of on the independents, you're doing shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably most of the time just Friday, Saturday.
Nice.
And if you can make good money off of, just your booking fee, or then there's just your merchandise, which is the big money maker for a lot of guys.
Selling shirts and stuff.
Selling T-shirts and hats and photos and all that. That's kind of where your money is to be made. So you want to
get your headshots. Hell yeah,
absolutely, because that's
awesome.
A lot of these promoters aren't really going to pay you a ton to come wrestle because
what is a normal pay? I mean, if you don't want to share, it doesn't really.
No, I mean, when you're.
I'm sure it ranges just like comedy does for us.
Oh, absolutely. When you're starting out, it's maybe $10-$20.
Yeah, cool.
And then some of these guys are making. Well, $1,000.
If you're like, because there's like a headline match on the night normally, right? Yeah. And that's the guys that go on the bill, and then they'll do the other guys after that or before them.
Yeah, it's just like comedy. I mean, you'll have your headliner, but then there's always spots for opening acts and to give guys a shot, or to there's guys that that maybe they're not super well known, but they're solid, and you're gonna put that's the guy you're gonna put in one of these shows that you need. A pretty good house for to get everybody warmed up for who your headliner is. So it's the same thing.
So they just basically like you'll just show up, you'll get ready, and then they like tell you who's gonna kind of like win it, and then you gotta just like work it out with the other guy and just like talk about how you want the match to go, kind of.
Yeah, and that's where you get creative. I mean,
it's like it's such an art form.
Yeah, I mean, because you have your ideas, you're wrestling this guy who has his ideas, and you throw everything together, and sometimes you can come up with the most creative stuff working together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you're doing like a stand-up comedy act, it's just you out there.
Yeah,
but
blowing it.
Wrestling's very cool because you might have 6 guys on a match, and they've all got these ideas, and now we're putting them all together, and now everyone's doing this crazy stuff where 2 guys are stacked on top of each other, getting slammed out of the ring onto the other 3 guys, and it's like all that stuff can be a lot of fun to put together.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. It's like a collaborative thing as opposed to just one guy on stage telling a bunch of nonsense about his dogs.
Yeah, it's it's fun. That's the most fun thing I do is like that's what enjoyment I get out of it is coming up with something that hopefully that people haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean coming up with the most dangerous thing. It can be the funniest thing, or it can be just the most. I've never seen someone do this particular thing before to someone, and it's a lot of fun to.
That's awesome.
And when someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, that thing you did was like really cool. I've never seen that before." That's like
the biggest
big
compliment
payoff.
that you
It's
can
like,
get.
oh yeah, I thought of that.
That's
or
super
maybe I
cool.
stole it from somebody else, but you don't know that.
Yeah, but they didn't know that. They don't go down to Danville, Arkansas, or whatever. Cool. I think that's a perfect place to leave off for part 1 with you. Thank you so much for coming. You want to plug any websites or anything, or where anybody could find you on the interwebs for your wrestling stuff?
I'm big on social media, so
Nice.
Danny Adams 93 on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's the best place to find me.
Cool.
And I'm always pretty active on there, so if you want to get after me and we'll talk wrestling, or if you want to talk about anything else, just shoot me a message, post something on my page.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming out. So you guys know where to find us because you're listening currently. Thanks again, and we'll be right with back with part 2 with Danny Adams. We'll see you all soon.